Everyone, welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. We're in southern Michigan on the way to Chicago. I'm going to a conference out there. Keith is also coming, so it's going to be a fun meetup. But on the way, I have a few diagnostic calls to make, and this is one of them. The owner here, what's the vehicle? 1988?
It's 1988 F350 with a 5.8, so 351 modified V8 engine.
Okay. And well, what's the customer complaint?
Here's what happened: is the vehicle sat for in storage for 10 years, and now when I put the vehicle away, one thing I have a lot of vehicles that I store long term. What I always do is fill up the gas tank. I mean, I fill it all the way up to the brim. It's coming up to the spout, so that we have the least amount of air contact with the fuel. Okay. That's what was done with this vehicle. Unfortunately, what happened is somebody broke into the place where when gas was higher.
This was how long ago? Like 2008? Yeah. Around there?
And they siphoned all the gas out of it.
Oh man.
And I didn't know that at the time. So it sat with
pretty much
almost no fuel in it.
Okay.
And now, although I will say it wasn't too difficult to start. It needed a little fluid in the intake to
squirted a little
to get it to
something
start.
In there.
But it started okay.
On the gas that was left in there.
On the little bit that was left.
Okay.
I rolled it outside of the garage, which was on a slope, and it stalled and it wouldn't start. Had difficulty restarting it. What I didn't realize is that the fuel level was so low. When it went over the angle, it wouldn't restart. Figured that part out. Put gasoline back into it. Okay. Started with, once we put gas in it again,
it started on its own.
Relatively little trouble.
Okay.
And no, I wanted to be sure because where I was moving is from one storage area to another one. And I wanted to make sure that I was going to drive it, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get stranded. Right. So I let it run for about 40 minutes, and it ran fine for 40 minutes. No missing, ran smoothly. Yep. Everything. So I thought we were all set. So we get in the truck, start driving. I got 7 miles down the road, and then it started to misfire, and sort of acting like, I mean, I'm familiar with some of the signs. It was acting like it was lean. Starvation. And then fuel. And then it would run for a little bit, and then it progressively after the 7 miles, and by the time I got 10 miles. It wouldn't go over 10 miles per hour. Okay, so you floor it just... At that point, we just flat-towed it the rest of the way. Now, what we did do, though, flat-towing it, is you could get it started, and it would sort of idle roughly, more or less, and which was handy because then with flat-towing, we had power steering, power brakes. It stalled. It only stalled... The rest of the distance to here was another 20 miles. Okay. It stalled about only another 5 or 6 times in that 20 miles, but would restart. But it's still in a position where it won't go more than 10 miles an hour. All right. So this sounds like a good one. Let's get the keys and fire it up and see what it does. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this charger off of it. Okay. Oh. Sweet. Oh, the old school buzzer. Oh, we got... Oh, they got a check engine light. That's cool. So I'm revving it up. It's kind of lopey. It does seem to run on all cylinders when I floor it. Or, give it some throttle. Now I see the fuel gauge showing empty. Is that a problem? We should probably ask the owner. So the fuel gauge is showing empty right now, Bill. It's on E, the fuel gauge. Huh. Is that, do you know if it works? It's not working now because we haven't driven it far enough to take that much shit out.
Okay, and you filled it to the brim.
Filled it right up to the
Okay,
top.
so it should have gas in there. Now it ran a lot worse than this, I assume, once it warmed up. So right now it's not bad, right? So we'll let it warm up a little bit and see if it acts up. Okay. It's actually pretty smooth right now. Pretty smooth. And a good throttle response.
Yeah, I didn't have anything, when I pulled it in here, it didn't have anything like that.
Okay. So, So like you said, it was about 7 miles of driving, right? And it started getting worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
Okay, so that's good direction. So cold start, let's shut it down, see if it restarts right away. Okay, it starts fine.
Hey.
Seems to run pretty smooth.
Here's something that's changed.
Okay.
I heard when you turn the key on, I could hear the fuel pump run. Okay. Before when it did that, I did not hear that.
The fuel pump run, you mean just when you turn the key on before
Yes.
cranking?
Yes.
Okay, let's try that. So key off, accessory. Oh, that's the fuel pump. I thought it was some kind of buzzer.
No.
It was like, eh.
No, that's the fuel pump.
So you say you didn't hear that before?
No.
Interesting.
We're not doing that before.
Okay.
Now,
So right now, even though the fuel gauge says E, it seems good. So we'll let it run for a little bit and
now the other
see
thing
if
that we
it
could
make
do
it
on
act up.
this that may make it easier is that since this is a dump body that lifts up
Okay.
and the fuel tank's underneath,
Yep.
we can lift this up
Easy access.
and get easy access to
Okay,
the top.
we might as well do a current ramp on the fuel pump, see if it's, going bad or something.
Yeah.
Now this truck only has almost 45,000 miles on it. And it's a 1988. Can you believe that? Original miles.
Yeah, because I'm the original owner.
Original owner, he bought it brand new.
Yeah.
You don't find many vehicles with this few miles with the original owner. This is actually pretty neat. So we'll just let it run for a bit and I'll be right back. And down on the floor we have the control buttons for the bed. So let's try to go up. That is pretty awesome. And now we have access to the fuel pump. Neat.
Now here's what we may want to do. We may want to go a little bit further because there's
a lock or something.
Yeah, just being held by the hydraulic
Yeah,
cylinder.
not
I wouldn't
not
go
the safe.
underneath it.
Absolutely.
There's a prop. There's a manual prop to hold it up.
Should I just go until it stops, or?
Let me try it. It might be far enough.
Okay. Need a hammer? That's a little rusted in there, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a hammer.
Okay, no problem. I'll let it keep running. So I was wondering if I can hook up a scanner to this thing just to look at some data or self-tests, and indeed we have the Ford OBD1 connector right here, and might as well play around with that. But so far it runs good. Oh, I should get a bigger hammer.
Yeah.
I might have one in the truck.
Let's see what I got here.
Alright, we got the Verus Pro hooked up to this 1988 vintage dump truck, and it's really showing itself very well today. So here's what adapters you need. The Ford 1B adapter through, I actually got this on eBay, little jumper that goes to the DA4 cable. This is just the standard OBD2, male to female. That goes to our wireless module. And then the power cord is the snap-on cigarette lighter attached to kind of a custom, female cigarette lighter receptacle. And it works. And here are the codes. We have no codes, system pass, fantastic. This is key on, engine off. We can do a key on, engine run self-test. Let's do key on engine run self-test. Off to on. Self-test output is energized. Been run, turn, yeah, wait, key turn on, okay. Engine running self-test. Start engine, allow engine to reach normal operating temperature, okay. Now we don't have any live data here, so we'll just have to watch the little gauge. Oh, running self-test, okay. I don't know if it'll notice when it reaches operating temp. It seems to be in the hot range, so let's say continue. We'll accelerate. Press the brake pedal, turn steering wheel, cycle overdrive switch. Put that in here. This brake pedal. Does it have an overdrive switch? I don't think so. Doing its thing. So it'd be nice to see some live data. I know GMs of this vintage actually showed you, what the oxygen sensor is doing, what the... They actually had a pretty good data list, but Fords, they just do this self-testing. Now, considering the truck runs fine now, I'm not worried about clogged fuel injectors or anything like that. Now this is a multi-point port injection system. It has 8 fuel injectors, so it's pretty sophisticated for 1988. What we are worried about is the fuel pump. Code 10, snap throttle. Okay. I don't know what that means, but I'll check engine lights flashing. Thermactor air system not working. I wonder what that is. I'm not really worried about that. But the key things we have to check here, I don't think it has a mass airflow sensor. I think it just has like a map or a barrel. And then the fuel pump current ramp, and that's about all we can do. Maybe check fuel pressure, see if it starts acting up, maybe take it for a test drive. Not sure. And if it stalls out, might need to tow it back with the XL7. So we'll play around with it, and if anything interesting comes up, we'll turn the camera back on. So, thought process here. If it's a fuel starvation issue, what could it be? Either the fuel pump kind of giving out, wiring, or for example the map sensor. If that's gets funky when it's hot, that could definitely cause a fuel starvation issue too. Looking at our wiring diagram, BBB Industries had the generic, or the main ECM diagram, but from the fuel pump relay, this brown wire goes to the fuel pump, but then where does it go? All data to the rescue. It goes to an inertia switch, and then pink and black wire to inline fuel pump. And we do have a sending unit here, so I guess this is our model here. Pink and black. There's a ground, that's black, and we have a yellow and white from fuel gauge. So let's verify that. Here's the wiring, very accessible. Nice thing that this lifts up. And here's our feed to the fuel pump, pink and black. There's yellow, there's an orange, and there's a yellow with white. So not sure, I guess we can check, basically measure current of the fuel pump here or here. Now I'm noticing that this is the original ground wire, and this one has been bypassed, and it goes somewhere. So first, let's just start the truck. There's our fuel pump current. It's only 1 amp. Is Set normal. Let's look at the signature. Drop the time base down. 100 milliseconds. It's only 1 amp. That's kind of low. There are no dropouts. So I'm going to wiggle this ground wire and see if our amperage changes. Maybe zoom out here, back to 2-second scale. Yeah, there's some change there. So I'm not touching it. Let's change the scale. I don't think that's supposed to happen when I'm jiggling the ground wire. Maybe that's affecting the current clamp. Let's see if our current is also going through our ground wire. And that might not be the ground wire. Maybe that's for the fuel gauge. No. Well, one of these has to be a ground. And we know the pink and black. Let's see what's on the yellow. It's kind of hard to do with one-handed here. Come on. Well, so the pink and black wire is the feed, and this orange wire seems to be the return. So I don't know if that matches the diagram, but that's the way it is. The other two wires have to be for the sending unit. And we can, double check that too. Their sending unit's on empty right now. But here's what the signature looks like, and I don't know, it looks pretty okay. And the wiggling was just, if you move the amp clamp around, the amplitude changes a little bit. So I'm not sure. It doesn't look like a issue. It doesn't look like a bad fuel pump, and the wiring seems to be okay. Fuel pump relay right there. Nav sensor. Very leaky manifolds. I don't know. The diagram is right. That is an orange wire coming off of the fuel pump, and then it splices into a black, and that's the ground. So the diagram is accurate. Okay, so I completely unplugged the fuel pump at the tank. It's unplugged. Like unplugged. And the truck is still running. Running pretty well. And the fuel gauge is pegged out. So that at least confirms wiring integrity to the tank. How is it still running? This blows my mind. Is there another fuel pump somewhere? We should measure the fuel pressure just to make sure. So, interesting finding. Why did the truck stay running with the fuel pump unplugged? Well, listen. There is another fuel pump under the truck. There's the current ramp right there. I'll show you where it is. It's on the frame rail. This guy, this like cylindrical thing with a hose going into it. So I'm guessing, this is the fuel filter. the low pressure pump's in the tank, but this thing can, you know, once it goes, it just keeps sucking fuel out of the tank and works on its own. So this is our main pump. And as you can see, the ground wire has been bypassed for both pumps. And this blue wire goes all the way up, all the way up to under the hood, right to here. The blue wire right here. See it? Goes all the way down there. So that's our bypassed fuel pump ground, but so far it looks like it's you know, it's fine. The wire is sound. The current is good. I mean, we can run the truck. Here's what our primary fuel pump looks like, the high pressure one. 2.5 amps, I guess that's normal. We look at that while, you know, wiggling this suspect wire. Nothing changes. So, I don't know. I still want to put a fuel pressure gauge on it just to see what the fuel pressure is, but yeah, so far it's running just fine. Well, while we have the fuel tank up, a quick bypass test for the fuel tank sending unit. You can see our little bulb is glowing dimly, and the fuel level gauge is on empty. If we disconnect this, like so, pull this whole guy out, our fuel gauge goes to full. So that confirms that the fuel level gauge is bad, the sending unit, and the wiring is perfectly fine. The instrument cluster is fine. So now we're gonna disconnect everything, take it for a test drive, see if it stalls out. Alright, so we got a fuel pressure gauge hooked up, hanging out of the hood. And right now, we'll cycle the key a couple times. We'll even run the truck. We'll zoom in on that. What do we see on there? Sweet. 30, and then snap throttle. It goes up to 40. Excellent. So now we'll just drive it around and hopefully it acts up. And if it doesn't, then I don't know what I'm going to charge the owner for. Alright, we're starting to recreate the problem, and I can actually see the fuel pressure drop when we floor it. So that is a clue. Now can we just turn around here?
Yeah, should be able to.
Stop all the way. Swing it around. Yeah, it's bogging right now when you floor it and the fuel pressure is dropping. Oh yeah. Oh, it's down to like 10. Boom, boom, boom. Starts misfiring. Yep. Okay, good.
That's the lean.
So left right here?
Yeah, go here or you go to either one. Okay. You can go this one or the next one.
Well, let's make it back before the truck completely stalls out, because apparently it's going to get worse. Can't keep up with the fuel demand.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a current pump draw again, put an amp clamp on it, and we can even do it in the parking lot over there. Basically just floor it and see what the current does.
Yeah.
And then we'll either call wiring or the pump. Simple as that. Alright, next experiment. we want to run the primary pump in the tank, the low pressure pump, on its own, because the one under the truck makes so much noise you can't really tell if that one is spinning. And the other reason why we want to do this is to check what kind of pressure this primary pump puts out. So what we're going to do is you just hold this hose right here. I'm going to bleed off the pressure. It holds it very nicely at 32, but I'm going to press the button. I'm going to squirt it out. Oh, I guess there's nothing there. Now we're at 0. Now we're going to just run straight power right to this terminal right here. You can hear it. And what's our pressure? We got nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now if we squeeze this, so it does absolutely nothing. That pump is spinning, but not not pumping anything at all. We could even take a fuel hose off and see if it's doing anything at all, but it sure doesn't look like it, does it? So I say that is definitely a problem, because it's there for a reason. It's not doing anything right now, right? Yep. But I still want to pop a fuel hose off and see if it's, if it's physically pumping fuel or if it's just completely useless. Because you can kind of hear it when you let it go.
Yeah.
It loads up. It goes. Yeah. So, but you would think.
I think it would give you something here.
You would think that when you squeeze this, something would go through that secondary pump, right?
Yeah.
And we have nothing coming through. Maybe at the fuel filter, that's a good place to disconnect the hoses, and that's also a good way to check the fuel filter. If it's completely clogged, then on one side we'll have something coming out, and the other side it'll be a trickle maybe. So let's try that. All right, so under the truck, managed to disconnect a fuel line, and this is the feed. Let's see here. It's a return system. So there's 2 lines coming into this plastic gizmo, and then 2 lines coming out. This is the return line that goes by the I guess the high pressure pump, and then the feed line for the high pressure pump is this guy that I disconnected. So when we turn on the primary tank pump, I'm guessing fuel should squirt out of here, and if it doesn't, then we definitely have a problem somewhere. So let's just try that. So let's just run straight power to this guy and listen for fuel. Oh yeah. Yeah, I got my rag wet. Now my car's gonna smell like gasoline. Definitely squirted pretty nicely, right? Let's try that again.
Yep, it's running.
Yeah, so that's good. So I guess this in-tank fuel pump is doing its thing. Now, why is the pressure not coming up to our fuel gauge through the main pump, or the high pressure pump? Interesting. There's also another fuel filter upstream, or I should say downstream of the high pressure pump. We should also check that one, because if that thing's clogged, then it won't be very good either. I guess we could. Oh, let's see what kind of connections it has first. So here's the fuel filter. Here are the hoses. I guess we could, if we figure out how to take these off. I still don't know exactly the right procedure. You might just spread these little tabs and move that somewhere. If we take this off and then reconnect that, do the same experiment, see if it comes out of here, or disconnect it right after the high pressure pump, see if it comes out there. We'll see if this is a restriction. Okay, so we disconnected the line after the filter that's after the high pressure pump. And when we energize the primary in-tank pump, you can hear it's trying, building some pressure, but no leaks. Now, is that known good or known bad? That's probably how it's supposed to work, because if this pump is off, there might be a check valve in there and it just won't let anything through. But what I want to know is that filter clogged? That's the big question. This is actually pretty tough to determine exactly which component. It's either primary pump, the black canister looking thing, secondary pump, secondary filter. So there's two filters, two pumps, and something under load is restricting us. And that's the issue. So what we're going to try to do is take some compressed air from the XL7, blow this filter out backwards. See if it's really clogged up with stuff. So you guys can see that. I'm going to go that way. Oh man, that was nasty. It actually seems like it's, even with air, it's pretty restricted. That's normal airflow. That's through the filter. Yeah, not great. But let's put it in, see how it runs. But you know, it's cheaper to replace that fuel pump and the filter than me spending another hour on this thing. Alright, so we'll clean out the fuel filter. Probably won't make a difference, but what the heck. Let's take it for one last spin. Definitely felt a little better, huh? We gotta drive around for a little while before it doesn't sting. So let's focus in on the gauge out there. You guys probably can't see anything, but it's reading 32 right now. Floor it. Yeah, it stayed at 40 there. It did stay at 40. So should we take it for another extended test drive?
Sure.
Let's do that. This is it. Victory. Blowing out that fuel filter, the one after the secondary high pressure pump, seems to have fixed the truck. You floor it and the pressure stays at 40. Before it would drop like 30, 20, 10. It was, you know, start misfiring and carrying on. We drove it around for a good 15 minutes now, and it's much better than before. So we're gonna call it fixed for now. I'm still gonna recommend a fuel filter because it's like 10 bucks, and you know, why not? And that's it. So amazing. Basically a no cost, no parts required fix. And I think this truck will, if it ever gets used, it'll make it to its destination. I really didn't think that would work. I thought it was going to be the actual pump itself, you know, just worn out or varnish buildup or something, but it was just a clogged fuel filter. So that's it. We'll do one more little acceleration run if you guys can see the pressure gauge. So right now it's at 30. We'll just do a quick. So you can see it stayed at 40, which is amazing. Zoom back out. So I guess that's it for this one. And yeah, stay tuned for more. Maybe we'll do a little video at the conference. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye. And also, thanks to Bill for inviting me on this diagnosis. I haven't worked on anything this old in a little while, so it was neat to go back to the basics and, you know, just, you know, Bill has a lot of interesting life experiences and stories that he shared with me, so I really do appreciate it, Bill.
Yep, no problem.
So have a good night.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time.